Test, test.
Okay, so I think we can begin now. Is it the time?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Let's go.
Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. I am Christelle Curcio, founder of Alegria Group, and I hope you are enjoying your NoCode Summit until now. Today, we will be speaking about changing careers, no-code opportunities in jobs, training from technical background or not. And we'll be waiting for more people to come also. Hello. Welcome. So we'll be talking about how difficult it is to change a career coming from a non-technical background or not, and about also the challenges of coming into a NoCode and AI career. And also, if there are some companies here, we'll be speaking about how employable a person who've made the change, is it more employable or not than dev. To answer these questions, I'm sorry, my English is a little bit root. I have not speaking English since a long time. We have 3 persons here on board with us. Maybe after, if we have time, we will take some questions from the audience. But before we start the questions, I will let you introduce yourselves, and maybe if you can also speak about your background, where you come from first, and after we can start the questions. Who wants to begin? Maybe you.
Okay,
Damien.
I'll start. So hi, my name is Damien, so nice to meet you. So I'm working as a product builder at Turnkey right here. I'm not from the no-code industry. Before I was working in the hospitality industry. So I changed my lifestyle like a year ago. I discovered no-code when I was living in the US. So I had like a business with my brother, and we were looking to expand online. So we had to create like an e-commerce platform. But we didn't want to pay a lot to develop a platform since we were not sure about the project. So it's how I discovered Shopify. I think most of you know about it. And it's how I ended to know about no-code. And like in 2 months, we were able to create an e-commerce platform. And it was like quite a success. So it's how I ended in the no-code. And then I decided to move from the hospitality industry to the no-code like a year ago, because I had the opportunity with Alegria actually to do the training and to learn about all the no-code tools. And well, that's it for now. And now I'm in Bordeaux, working as a product builder, mainly on Bubble and Xano.
Okay, thank you. Simon?
I'll go on. Hi, my name is Simon. I'm 24, and I'm a no-code developer at Alegria for almost 2 years now. I originally come from marketing. I studied marketing until I realized it was probably not for me, both in terms of, very competitive market, and also probably not paid enough, in my opinion. So I actually joined a startup in Grenoble called Sport Testing, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But I was a marketing and communication project leader over there. And because we were a small team, I had to, dig out a few tools to create some website, for example. So I used Webflow to create the company's website. And then from there, kept on looking at the scene, no-code scene, found out about Alegria, joined their first ever batch of students, first ever batch of the academy, joined them for internship, and now I'm working full-time as a developer for them, and I'm very happy. So I'm glad to share my experience with you today.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Céline. I am not 24. I used to be an event manager. I was organizing an event, a big event that is called Web Today in Nantes. It's about 10,000 people, 3 days for 200 conferences. I give you these figures because actually we had to play with a lot of data. So 5 years ago, I needed to improve our organization. So I was using Zapier to make automations. So once I asked Zapier to connect, I think it was Google Sheets with Agenda, and Zapier answered, if you want to do this, you should have a look to Airtable. That I didn't know. So I've been looking to Airtable, and yes, Zapier was right. This tool answered many of our problems. So I used it for the event, and after that I used Airtable for all the activities of my company, because we were also a co-working space. So we had a lot of things to organize with Airtable, and that's why after that I loved it so much that I didn't want to organize events anymore, and I decided to be 100% in NoCode. So today I am at the French Ministry for Foreign Affairs. I just arrived there 1 month ago. It's brand new. Before that, I was NoCode engineer in a big company called Jelly-Smack. Maybe I will tell you more later.
Okay, thank you. It's great to see three profiles that didn't come from a technical background in the first place. Maybe my first question is, how difficult was it to come into no-code and to become a no-code maker now?
When I started 5 years ago, we didn't speak about no-code. We were speaking only about tools and also. And it was not difficult for me because I felt it was really natural, because I was using spreadsheets, and I used to connect the spreadsheets and make relations between the tables. So when I discovered Airtable, I was not that lost. Airtable offered many other possibilities with the views, and so that answered many problems. But I felt it really natural to come from Excel and go to Airtable. It's so easy. So I didn't think I had a drastic transformation. It was quite natural for me.
For me, pretty much the same, pretty straightforward. I think NoCode has that ability to help you understand complex concepts through interfaces, and the fact that it's easier to take care of and manage. And then I think it allows you to, at some point, get more technical, get more complex with what you're doing. And if you're curious, like me, honestly, it's probably one of the best opportunities I've had in terms of realizing I was not so bad at doing tech. I remembered when I started studying, my first 2 years, I did some HTML, CSS, JavaScript, even SQL, stuff like that. I was terrible at it. I couldn't grasp a thing. Well, HTML, CSS, pretty straightforward, but I remembered being not very good, and now I like it a lot. And I think it's thanks to these new tools that really try to empower what users and help them build on their own. And so, yeah, pretty straightforward for me. Plus, marketing is also really related to tech at some point. We do a lot of data analysis. So, yeah, for me, that was it.
Well, for myself, it was not, I mean, I feel it was not easy, because when you go into no-code, there is like just so many tools that you get a little bit lost, and you just try to go around like on YouTube and on like many channels. And I was totally lost, so I just moved forward, and like you, I did like the hacking project, and I started like to learn like just the basic of codes, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And after this, I went back to the no-code industry just to understand like what is really no-code. So I mean, for me, it was like in the many steps. Started with code, and then I went back to no-code just to understand what's going on. So yeah.
Okay, and now you, all of you, have a job, a kind of permanent job. what was the challenges for you to get into the job, and do you think there is enough opportunities on the market to become no-code maker in a company?
I'll go ahead. I feel like it's still growing. So there's a real opportunity, in my opinion, because I remember when I looked probably over about a year ago, I couldn't find many jobs yet. I feel like there's a need for it. And the question was, how did you get into it, right?
What were the challenges
Oh,
for you to get a job and opportunities on the market from the companies?
Okay, so yeah, my train of thought was I think it's going to grow even more, so it's going to get easier. France has something called alternance, which is pretty amazing to get into the job market, which is what I did. So not a big challenge on my part, but I'd say it's going to get even better as we go on. As we can see, the event is already getting bigger than last year, so I think there'll definitely be more jobs on the market in all industries. I'm very surprised actually to see that the public industry is going with no code as well. So not a challenge, it'll get easier, in my opinion.
Well, if you, when I was looking for my first job in the no-code, one thing was easier for me is when I had something to show to like the people recruiting me. So I recommend to have like to work before like on a side project or like on a simple application just to get used to no-code tool, and then during like I think it makes it easier to find a job to have something to show.
But you can use no-code, but not being a no-coder. You couldn't be a citizen developer. So on this way, no-code will help you find a new job because you will have abilities that others don't. So that's a big plus. You don't have to become a 100% no-coder. You can use no-code in your everyday job. So I think that's the main point.
Yeah, and do you have more advice or resources that people can use and follow to get maybe a job, either to be no-code maker or to use no-code in their jobs? Maybe one advice that you would have love to know before starting training?
Well, yeah, I do have one advice. There is like one expression in the no-code, it's like read the fucking manual. It's like what people say to you all the time. So my advice is like, if you want to work in a no-code tool, please read the documentation before and you're gonna save a lot of times. For example, like a month ago, I did like an integration between like Outlook and Bubble, which looks simple, but I just went straight, trying like to drop down and do my workflows, but I didn't read the documentation. So I spent like 3 days and I lost 3 days just trying. And I went back to the documentation and all the solutions was there. So yeah, read the documentation will be my advice.
My advice would be to tell you to join communities. There are many no-code communities. And actually, my last job at the ministry, I heard about it on a Slack of no-code France. So be involved in the community. It's really important, I think.
Mine would be, don't be afraid of code. You'll have to do it at some point. Just, take advantage of the tools, what they are allowing you to do, understand what they're doing for you, and at that point, I think you'll get even better and better.
Yeah, could you describe maybe one use case that you'll be working on in your new job, or maybe while training?
Yeah, well, so I can talk about this this app I was doing. So it's like the client was like he was working on like 6 stack. So he has like Freshdesk, Brevo, Outlook. He had like an outside database, and then there was one more I don't remember. But the goal was to centralize like all the tools in only one place. So we used Bubble to develop the app, and the challenge was to make all these API connections between all the tools, and we also used Xano as a backend. So at the end, we had like hundreds of API connections that works all together at the same time. So yeah, this one was of the most.
Was it
challenge.
you alone or a team working on it?
Well, so we were like 3 people, which is pretty interesting because when you connect 6 different tools, you have to read like 6 documentations. So it takes a lot of time. And sometimes you just get stuck on a simple point and you ask your friend, like, hey, I mean, your coworkers, hey, what do you think about it? And like in the second, it just gives you the solution. So yeah, as a team, it's easier for sure.
For me, one recent, cool project I worked on recently was a proof of concept for a client. We dedicated 5 days to build an entire, how would you call that, check-in system for cleaning agents. The client is basically linking cleaning agents to agencies, and we took 5 days to work an entire system for them where the agents will scan a QR code at the entrance of the building, then we'll know what time they check in, what time they check out. We created interfaces for the ops managers of the team to be able to know at what time the agents come in, come out. Also a automated system for if you're late, you get an SMS, for example, stuff like that. And we used Airtable, Make, JavaScript, and SMS Factor as the solution for the SMS. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so a little bit of code, as you said.
Always.
I cannot talk much about the projects that I have at the ministry, as you can guess, not publicly. But I can talk about this first project I had with NoCode. I told you I was an event manager. So we were running a big event. So I used Airtable to manage, of course, to manage the speakers, to manage the volunteers, to manage the program, the scheduling, to manage the press, and so on. So only with Airtable, that was 5 years ago. That was a complete solution, and it really changed our lives and saved much time. So that was a good project. And after that, at JellySmack, JellySmack is a company that helps social networks creators to develop their audience on several social networks. And sometimes there are complaints because they can use videos or sounds that they don't own. So we receive complaint from Facebook, for example. And what does Facebook? They send one email saying this video has a problem, red alert. And so we automated the system to make sure that instead of having to read the email will fall in Airtable base, and we could automate the organization of the complaints.
Okay, and if we are coming a little back on the why you wanted to come into the NoCode and AI industry, did you have maybe at first an idea of a deeper, a longer project about why you wanted to learn more about technology and how it could help you in your future life?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think the freedom it gives you, being able to build on your own, being able to make your ideas real, that's one thing. And also the challenge of, always being, having to understand new things. It's an endless industry. Tech there's always something for you to know. You always have to think, and that's something I really enjoy. But like I said, I didn't really think I had the abilities, and NoCode really showed me that I probably did. So, yeah, I guess that's the main point.
I think the more you learn, the more you want to learn. So you're the more and more curious about tools, new features. So you are eating videos from YouTube. You are reading everything you can. So I think it's like magic. So you want to know more all the time. So that's what I do.
Well, for myself, so as I told you, I was working in the hospitality industry, and so which is like a traditional industry. And every day I had so many ideas to improve like the daily works of people there, but it just costs so much money to create like a simple application. So I was just like super frustrated every day. So that's kind of why I moved in the no-code industry. And so I had like a side project, which is for the hotels. So I'm working like on an application connected to IA, which will like save so much times to people working in the hotels. And I know I can develop the application just myself. I don't need someone like outside. I don't need the developers. So it's just gonna cost me time and like 30 euros per month for Bubble. That's it. So yeah, that's definitively why I move in the no-code. It's just because you can just put your ideas in a simple application. So yeah.
Yeah, so in your case, you went from a field, hospitality, and you want to empower this field with no-code and AI powers.
Yeah, and I do have the power to do it in just like a few months. I mean, yeah, 6-8 months. My plan is to, yeah.
Okay, and after you want to continue this side project to become like a company, or
well, we'll see. Maybe I don't know yet.
Okay, that's great. Maybe what do you think you want to do in the future? And if we speak more about technologies and how fast they are evolving, and now we are more talking about AI, and we were less talking about AI like 3 years ago. It's coming very fast. What's your opinion? What do you think about how it will evolve in the next years regarding maybe employment and soft skills also in the professional industry?
I guess no code will turn into low code more and more because the no coders will learn little by little languages. For example, as I work for the ministry, I need to use open source tools, and many open source tools need you to use maybe Python. I'm thinking about Grist. Does anybody know Grist? No, I'm the only one. Yeah, lucky you. To tell you about Grist, Grist is a mix of Airtable and Excel. And the formulas in Grist are in Python, so I need to learn Python to use the tools. So I think we are moving to learn some code. The best no coders will need to use some code. So for me, the future is maybe low code.
Well, talking about AI, I think it's one of the most interesting revolutions we're about to see happening. I view it as a personal assistant you can contact anytime about very, very specific problems. If you know how to ask the right questions and if you know how to what you're doing, it's the most appropriate tool for you to learn new skills. Because at first you're like, okay, it's giving me code or it's giving me advice, but all I have to do is copy and paste. But in the end, if you are interested about what it gives you, you understand new concepts, and then later on down the road, you can just do these things without asking it or giving it back, giving back what you did, get advice. It's honestly one of the most interesting things that have happened in my life recently, just because sometimes I feel like I want to do something just because I know AI will give me an answer. And I don't have this mindset of saying, okay, it's going to be too hard for me, I won't probably figure it out. And even if I don't, I know that eventually I will understand the concept. And so yeah, for me, it will work alongside no code and even traditional code for years to come. And I don't view it as a threat for now for our jobs, simply because I realized that it just made me better in a much more shorter time span than I probably it would have taken me if I were to go to an engineering school or something. So yeah, I'm very glad it's existing.
Well, yeah, I think you say everything, so I share the same opinion actually.
Yeah, and to speak about what you said, even if we can say that AI can take some of our jobs, the need of producing tools for companies is growing, and there are so many in France and worldwide companies that have a archaic process and also process documentation way of doing the things, a lot of copy and paste. So it's always needed to have more and more to automate more things in the companies. Maybe there is 4 minutes left. As I have one last question for you, and after we will take a question from the audience. The last question would be that now you are professional no-code makers, three of you. What do you think you would need in a global way to become more professional? I don't know if that makes sense, but to go to the step further, to the next level regarding your hard skills.
Projects, time, energy, and dedication, I guess. And it circles back to what I said about AI before. I'm not the type of guy to really push. Sometimes I'm kind of lazy, but thanks to that, I feel like my skills will only get better, and I know that I should allow myself some time. I have Alegria giving me projects to work on and use my brain on. So to me, it's just a matter of time and working on things. Yeah, definitely. And to get better, I mentioned it a couple times. You mentioned it as well. I think not being afraid of coding sometimes can help you even become a better no-coder, because you know what the tools are allowing you to do. You know their limits. You know what their value, what they're allowing you to do, what they're allowing you not to do as well. For example, Airtable, you can just create a database in a matter of seconds. Maybe if you're using Postgre or other tools, it will probably be longer. You'd have to work harder to connect that to an interface, stuff like that. So when you understand what these tools are doing for you, you can really look for doing the complex things that had value to your work, and you only understand it with time and energy. So I think that's will be key for me.
So need to be motivated always.
Yeah, give me more projects, please.
On my side, I think I need to be more technical, not to use really technical tools, but to speak with the text. Because I work in the IT department of the ministry. We have 500 people, and I am the only no-coder. So they won't speak my language. I have to speak their language. As you can imagine, they are quite skeptical about no-code because they code. So if I don't speak their language, I won't be relevant for them and maybe not credible. So I have to get more technical.
I have one question about that. Do you think it could change? Do you think in one future there could be like 400 no-coders and one developer?
I'm not sure because, as you can imagine, the ministry is a target for hackers. So we have a strong team for security, for example. I'm not sure we can do that with no code, so I will let them do their thing. And maybe in a few years, I will have my own team with maybe 10 or 12 no coders. So let's do it this way.
I actually have a counter example to that. I brought my very great friend here. He's a developer, and he came to the No-Code Summit. So I feel like going forward, I feel like developers are also going to realize that no-code allows them to do certain things that they don't want to do. And so everybody will kind of use a mix of both worlds if we were to separate them.
Those are the clever ones. Not all the tech people are clever, I can tell.
Well, and for myself, if I want to answer to your question, how to go to the next step, I think it's people. You need to show your work to other people. For example, I'm working on Bubble, and I'm always showing my Bubble app to other Bubbler, because there is like 1,000 ways to build an app, and sometimes when you begin, you don't make it like scalable, so you just do like a simple workflows. But this works for like 10 users. But if you want to go to like 1,000 or like a million users, you need to think in a different way. So yeah, if you want to go on the next steps, you need to work with people and show how you think, and just challenge your way of thinking, how to build.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm done with the questions. I see the counter is off right now, but I don't know how much time we have left. Do you have some questions in the assembly? Yes, go on. I will give you my mic.
My question is for you, Christelle, since you are the founder of Alegria and NoCode. I used to be a web developer, so I did codes, but I'm more interested with NoCode because it makes my life easier. But my question is for you, how easy it is to find clients in NoCode if I happen to be a freelance, for example? Is it easy to find clients, or and what can you recommend for us to get more clients?
Yeah, that's a real question, and I can say that the answer is different now than it was 2 years ago. It changed a lot we started Alegria 3 years ago actually, and at first it was very complicated as an agency to tell the clients, okay, NoCode is secure, NoCode is okay for your IT team and things like that. Now it's easier. I speak for Alegria. We have now 40 clients, and we couldn't 3 years ago. So in this way, it changed. So I think one part of the answer is the change of mentality and the acculturation of NoCode in the companies. That works for the big companies. For smaller companies, you have all the PME, SMBs in France. It's really about quantity, because they are all over the territory, and they are small companies. So it still needs some evangelization from all the freelancers and all the people who work in the no-code industry. And this is with our united voice that we can spread the good word about that and say how efficient it can be for certain use case. So, and for the startups, the last type of companies, they are already accultured with no-code and AI, so it's more easier. So to answer your question, I think it's easier now to find missions and jobs as a freelancer. And as we have a community of freelancers at Alegria, I can recommend to have, like Simon said, to work on projects and to have a portfolio and to show that if you want to convince, for example, a company to work with you, to show that it's safe and you can do the job. I think that would be that. But it's not that difficult than it was before. I would say it's kind of okay and easy now.
Thank you.
So you
Thank you for the speech. In terms of something being marketable, do you think it's more advisable for someone new to low-code or no-code to know about as many tools as possible? Or is it better to specialize in 1 or 2 tools? Because obviously we can't be expert at everything. And you know, it's my first participation to the summit. I'm new to no-code, and when I got here, I was really overwhelmed by the quantity of boosts there is. There seems to be a solution for everything that can be done, and some things overlap. There are some clear leaders. Bubble was one of them. We hear a lot about it. Airtable is another one. So what do you think is more easily saleable in terms of competence when you go to the market? Is it being an expert, a real expert into something specific, or is it more like a generalist approach, know a little bit more of everything? What's your take on that?
Maybe not everything, but at least database, automation, and front. That's a good stack. So you don't have to learn 10 database tools, but at least one database, one automation, one front. And with that, you could be able to do almost everything, I guess.
If I were starting over, I'd probably explore it first, just because every tool is solving a different problem, and understanding what problem they're solving is always something that will help you later on down the road. But if you're trying to sell to a client, obviously expertise is always, in my opinion, better. If you know a tool, if you know how to use it, you'll have better chances of landing clients. And if I were to choose specifically, when starting, I'd go with the big ones, simply because they're more reliable, they've had more experience already, so they have fixed problems, they have had user feedback and all that stuff. So you're more likely to have a tool that will be hands-on for you to work with. But it's also great to explore and look at what tools may be helpful for you. But yeah, to sum up, I'll explore first, decide what I like, pick that, and then focus and become an expert on those tools.
Yeah, my advice will be as well to try like as many tools as you can, just like for like a few weeks or a few months, and then you're gonna fall in love with one of them. So just try to use as many as possible, and I think your heart will decide for you which tool you like. Honestly, this happened with me with Bubble. I tried like many of them, and when I tried Bubble, I was like, all right, this is the one. So I'm gonna specialize in Bubble, and maybe in 2 or 3 years I will try another one. But it's already take months, weeks, I mean years to specialize in one tool. So do not spread on many tools, or you're gonna lose time.
Thank you.
There was a question here.
Thank you. So I had a question about the tools that you use. As no-code developers, you seem very dependent on the tools that you choose. And so you use a Make and Airtable a lot, for example. My question is, does it scare you that maybe there's a monopoly on the tools and they decide to raise their prices, they decide to change their system? How would you adapt? Is it something you keep an eye on? Because so I'm a web developer, and we have a huge culture of open source and freedom. That's not the case in no-code. So I was wondering how you can tackle that issue of being so dependent on the tools that you use.
Actually, about open source, that's my point right now, because I cannot use SaaS tools at the ministry. I need to use open source. This is a governmental wish that the ministries use open source tools. And actually, there are many no-code open source tools. I just discovered it. I have a list at about 50 tools I found already. Now I have to test it. Something else and see if they are as good as SaaS tools. But why not? I think open source is the future for no-code too.
In my opinion, I think as much as we are relying on them to work, they're also relying on us to work as well, to be successful. If a no-code tool were to make bad decisions, probably most of the people that were using the tools will leave and the company will not exist anymore. So there's a balance, in my opinion, that exists. I don't think they can really directly change their price range or completely change the infrastructure. And also, if you are, the more you work, the more you know, so the more you're able to change and adapt, go to different tools. So I feel like that's my view on it. If a tool tomorrow that I'm using and that I like dies, it's okay, because I know I will probably find another alternative at some point. And as you've mentioned, there are a bunch of tools that are coming to life. So if one decides to make bad decisions, I'll just go to a different one, and that's it, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. Just the logic is kind of the same between all the no-code tools. So if just one is going off the market, then you can just go on another one. It's not going to be easy, but I mean you can go through this thing. So yeah, I'm not really scared to lose Bubble. I know there is many other good tools I can use. So yeah, that makes a point.
One thing though that's maybe difficult is if you have an entire infrastructure on a specific tool and then you have to change all of a sudden. That's going to cost money. There's going to be a lot of technical thoughts. So that's one thing that might be hard, but it's probably the same thing as if you were changing framework or something like this. So that's my concern per se, but otherwise I feel like it's not too big of a concern.
Are there other questions? Yeah, at the back.
Thank you. What role have recruiters played in helping you develop your career in no-code? Do you use recruiters or do you find your jobs through other ways?
Well, I was recruited by someone to join the academy, and then I was recruited by the same person to join as an intern and as a full-time. So they've definitely played a big role in my no-code career, because I feel like without them I probably wouldn't have even thought of becoming a no-code developer. So yeah, big role. I try to keep an open eye on the market as well, so not relying on recruiters to make my career for me. But I feel like it's still an industry where recruiters are very involved, because they're the ones in touch with the companies. They're the ones that know when new roles open, and they're the ones that probably will come to you and ask you if you're interested. So big role in my case.
Well, I'm working in an agency, so I'm not really concerned about it. Just people are coming to us, and we are working on different projects. And we just choose the stack, the tools we're going to use, depends on the client. So yeah, I'm not really concerned by finding people, projects.
The question was who had a big role in your career? I didn't get it.
Can you rephrase the question?
How have recruiters helped you in your no-code career?
They have not.
They've not. That's fine.
Actually, as I told, this job I have at the ministry, I found it in the French no-code community. So it's not from a recruiter that came to me. So that's it.
Hi. So our startup is currently hiring a no-code engineer. So I have two comments. One, if anyone is looking for a new role, would love to talk. And two, I wanted to ask the panel, do you think that starting off as a no-code engineer, you start off with a weaker base than someone who has been a web developer, for example, moving into the no-code space?
You definitely do, obviously, because you don't have all the... Usually developers start at low-level languages, and then they work their way up to a high level. They start with C, and then they go up to JavaScript or something. We are doing the opposite. So obviously we don't have all the information and skills necessary to understand how a basic computers work at a very low level. So we will lack some of that skill. However, with time, if you're recruiting a no-code engineer that has multiple years of experience, he will have covered that gap by just simply being curious and working on different projects. So it all depends on the profile you're recruiting. If you're recruiting a junior, obviously you're not going to have someone that has all the necessary overview of how web and tech in general works. If you're recruiting someone with experience, it's very likely that he has already covered that gap and that he understands why, or she actually understand why the tools are built this way and what they allow them to do. And so I don't think you will have a very big technical difference with someone that's been a developer for a while and someone that's a no-code engineer, in my opinion, I guess.
He's right.
Another question?
One more? One last?
So earlier you talked about the future of no code, and you said the future is going to be a bit more about low code rather than no code. And the question is, do you think the no code market has the strength to stand on its own, or we will absolutely have to move to low code?
Actually, no code will be for citizen developers, I guess. But for 100% no coders, no code makers, you will need to use low code tools, I think, because you have to make the difference. Yes. But for citizen developers, no code tools are enough, I guess. That's what they need.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I use like no-code tools, and there is like different step like of using the tools. I don't think like you need low code. With Bubble, for example, you can make like very complex application. It just take like years to create it, but there is just a different like step to use no code, and I don't think low code will be like a need in the future. You can do any job with you can do the job with no code if you know how to use the tool. It's my point. Or you can.
I feel like it's a scale as well. If you take Airtable, for example, you could be a very basic developer and just building the base and not dealing with automation, just dealing with the data. Maybe you could be a bit more advanced and use automation. Maybe you could be even more advanced, use script and automation, or even more advanced and use their API within your own project and use Airtable as a tool for your database, and you build a more complex logic elsewhere. So not only are we doing low code, and code, all the tools are going to have different roles, and I feel like almost like if you have different types of developers within the same tool. So in my opinion, it's just going to be how interested you are in the tool and how deep you want to go with it. Yeah, I guess that's that.
And in my opinion about that, as I said, I think there are so many needs regarding the business, any kind of business and any kind of industry. So it really depends on the technical or business need at first. With no code only and not low code, you can do a lot of things and also complex things. And it depends on, the scalability, the security, if that's in a big company, it depends on the IT legacy of the company. But when you want to launch your own project, when you want to, you are operational, you work in a company and you want to, with your business, to enhance, to automate your business in your company, it's totally fine also. So it really depends on what you need to do. And with this need, you can choose a technical stack, and it can be fully no code or low code or AI, and really depends on that, I think. Okay, we run out of time, so thank you very much for your listening, and I hope it was useful for you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.